Risk Runner is an exotic energy submachine gun available from completing the main storyline on IO or from engrams. The first perk, Arc Conductor, says when taking arc damage, this weapon becomes more powerful and resists incoming arc damage. Kills extend the time in this overcharged state. The second perk, Superconductor, says when Arc Conductor is active, shots fired have the chance to become chain lightning and return ammo. If you're watching this video because you want to know which of the three weapons to pick, Risk Runner, Sunshot, or Graviton Lance, then I will still recommend that you pick up Sunshot. It does area of effect damage without any other requirements needing to be met. Risk Runner requires taking arc damage, and Graviton Lance requires extremely precise enemy positioning. With all that out of the way, how does Risk Runner actually perform? Well, if you don't have Arc Conductor active, this is just a normal SMG with no other unique perks. Compared to other legendary options, it isn't really even that good in its normal state. The arrowhead break muzzle on it gives consistent recoil, but it does have a lot of vertical kick to it. This isn't really a problem in PvE due to aim assist and larger hitboxes on enemies, but in PvP it can lead to some problems if you're using the weapon on the far end of its range. Reload speed in its normal form is also pretty slow, and coupling this with the fast rate of fire just doesn't make for a fun time when you're reloading more often than you're shooting. There is a massive but to all of that. Everything I just said literally does not matter once you have Risk Runner out and take arc damage to activate Arc Conductor. Recoil doesn't really matter when you can just infinitely fire your weapon. Reloading doesn't matter since, well, infinitely firing your weapons doesn't require that. Once Arc Conductor is active, you essentially have 5 seconds to get a kill, and doing so will refresh the perk. This is actually fairly easy to do since the area of effect lightning from Superconductor perk will proc on almost every single hit, making grouped up enemies extremely easy to deal with. The perk combination is so effective and crucial to using the weapon that you just find yourself running around trying to take enemy fire so you can activate this mode. Taking arc damage while Arc Conductor is already active will also refresh the perk, so it's actually beneficial to keep running into the thick of enemies to a degree. The weapon even promotes it since you'll start taking decreased damage from arc sources. This whole package can combine into some pretty spectacular moments where you're just running around and infinitely firing the weapon, not caring about your well-being. The area of effect damage is one of the more powerful perks in the game for clearing and controlling adds. The damage is great enough that it can cause enemies to become stunned, and it hits over an extremely wide area too. Sunshot is really the only other weapon that one can compare the effect to, and Sunshot's splash damage doesn't cover nearly the same area as Risk Runner's. The question is though, is that perk worth both the exotic slot and the energy weapon slot? Well, if you're in a fight where you're constantly being overrun by enemies and you're able to consistently proc the Arc Conductor perk combo, then yes, this is an extremely good choice. In the best case scenario, this is genuinely one of the best possible PvE weapons in the game for ad clearing. But keep in mind, if you don't have that perk active, then you are left with a pretty subpar machine gun. In a pinch, you can indeed throw an arc grenade onto the ground to kickstart the perk, but that can only happen maybe once every minute depending on grenade cooldowns. So depending on what type of enemies you're going up against, you may never actually see this weapon be used to its fullest potential. Sunshot, on the other hand, will always proc its area of effect damage because it only requires you to kill or damage something with it. That's pretty easy to do since that's basically all you do in PvE. If you're the type of player that goes for the strictly better option, then Sunshot is what you should use. If you like using lightning and having your raid team get annoyed at how much fun you're having, then Risk Runner might be your best friend in PvE. Now moving over to PvP, Risk Runner just doesn't hold up. As I stated in the PvE section, when the perk isn't active, you are stuck with a submachine gun with poor stats. That's basically all of the time in PvP since arc damage is going to be a little bit harder to predict. If you see an enemy team all using arc energied weapons, then you might be able to use this gun. But even then, you are doing your loadout a disservice due to the low range, compared to other SMGs at least. The only time I found the weapon useful was when the perk was active and you also had a large amount of enemies grouped up. Then Risk Runner was actually pretty good. Personally, if I'm planning my loadouts in PvP, I want them to be balanced around something, like having all ranges, and every weapon should also be very consistent. Risk Runner just doesn't fit that consistent check mark for me. There are too many variables at stake for it to be its absolute best. I even tried hitting myself with an arc grenade to kickstart the perk, and you're just better off not. The name of the game is team shooting in Destiny 2 PvP, and chances are, if you're shooting into an enemy team with this, they're also going to be shooting back at you. You aren't going to take them all out before they just wipe the floor with you. So in short, Risk Runner at its best is one of the top tier PvE weapons for ad management. At its worst, it's a normal SMG that offers you zero utility. In PvP, try not to be swayed at how good the weapon can be at its best. Most of the time, you will be using a bad SMG in hopes that it becomes better. Just use a good energy weapon like Uriel's Gift or Last Hope or one of the other numerous more consistent SMGs. I hope you found the information here helpful. If you did, a positive rating would be appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.